don't know when the little kind thing we do for someone might make a difference in their entire lives.
Are you contagiously enthusiastic? Because if you're not, how do you expect your employees to be? I was asked 5 years ago to speak to 3,000 employees of a large grocery store chain, and they brought everybody. After I'd spoken, I always give my home phone number to every audience. I had a young man who called me, and he told me his name was Johnny, that he was a bagger in one of the stores, and he was a person of Down syndrome. He said, "Barbara, I liked what you said." And he said he went home that night and he asked his dad to help him with the computer. And he said we set the computer up into 3 columns. And he said from that night on, every night that he goes home, he finds a thought for the day. And he said, if I can't find one I like, I think one up. Then he and his dad type it 6 times on a page. He prints out 50 pages every single night, cuts them out, signs his name on the back, and the next day, for every person's groceries he bags, he puts a thought for the day in the bag. Now, about a month later, the store manager called me. He said, "Barbara, I want to tell you what happened this morning." He said, "When I went out on the floor about 9:30 this morning, the line at Johnny's checkout was 3 times longer than any other line." He said, "I went ballistic. I was yelling, 'Get more people out there, get more lanes open.'" And he said, the customer said, no, we want to be in Johnny's lane. We want the thought for the day." So who do you think is the most important person in that whole store? He said, one woman came up and said, "I only used to shop once a week, but now I come in every time I go by because I want the thought for the day." He said 3 months later, the store manager called me back again, and he said, "Barbara, you and Johnny have transformed our store." He said, "Now in the floral department, when they have a broken off flower or an unused corsage, we used to just throw them away. He said, now they go out on the floor and they find an elderly woman or a little girl and they pin it on them." He said, "One of our meat packers loves Snoopy, so we ordered 50,000 Snoopy stickers, and every time he packages a piece of meat, his meat gets a Snoopy sticker on it." Now I said, "I don't know about dog stickers on meat." But he said, "We are having so much fun, and our customers are having so much fun." And folks, that's a true leader. But if he can do it, there is no reason why every one of us in this room and out there in our audiences can't do it. Thank you. God bless.
The story is so universal. You know, it's just about how one person with what we would say is kind of an unimportant job, a frontline job, turned a whole organization upside down. So that story really has such universal appeal. In fact, organizations that I've spoken to 2 and 3 times will always say, "Don't forget to tell the Johnny story," you know, and they may have heard it several times before, but they want to hear it again. So I think it just gives everybody a real sense of hope and warmth and happiness. And we need more of that in our world today.
With a master's degree in adult learning, Barbara has diligently researched hundreds of no-cost, practical ideas to help leaders create and maintain a productive work environment.
I recently was in the Charlotte airport, and I walked into the ladies' washroom there, and the attendant there had a big smile on her face, and she said to me, "Welcome to Valerie's Happy Restroom." And then she said, "If you be happy, you'll pee happy." She looked at me, she said, "You know, you've got a lot of stuff. You get the VIP section," which was the handicap stall. Every person left that restroom with a big smile on their faces. And so when I finished, I came out and I said, "Valerie, you know, I speak all over the world on creating workplaces of joy. May I tell your story?" And she stopped, she stood up real tall, she said, "Well, I already have 4 videos on YouTube." So if you Google Valerie's Happy Restroom, you will get to see her in action. But the last thing she said to me was, if you can't have fun at work, then just stay home.
And isn't that true? If you can't have fun at work, then just stay home.
What percentage of American workers do you think are giving their full abilities to their jobs? Just call out some numbers.
20, 30.
Okay. Wow, it's all across the board. Actual truth, 10 to 12%. 10 to 12%, yeah, you guys were right on. But what that leaves is 75 to 80% of our American workforce is just doing enough to get by. And those are the folks that I call these slot fillers. And again, so many times they've been beaten into that. So how can we use them as our target audience to get them fired up to say, I am important. I make a difference every day. Now, I always have 3 guarantees whenever I work with an audience, and I'm going to ask you at the end of the morning if I've met those. Number 1, I want to whack your thinking, and I want you to leave here looking at things a little bit differently than you did when you came in. This is an idea that I share with my audiences around the world. It costs no money. It takes 3 minutes, and I guarantee that it will change the feeling in your workplace. Now, I always ask how many of you have meetings. And of course, every hand in the room goes up and people moan and groan. And I say, what are most of your meetings about? What's going right or what's going wrong? What would you say? All over the world, I hear wrong. So what I'd like to ask you to do is every time that you go to a meeting from now on, and it can be a meeting in your school, your church, your community, but especially in your workplace, to start that meeting with 3 minutes of good news, and just ask anyone in the meeting to share any good thing that's happened in their family, their community, on the job. And it's amazing. My clients all over the world are doing this, and they are telling me that their meetings are more positive, they're more productive, they're shorter. People are coming on time because they don't want to miss the 3 minutes of good news. And the funny thing is, they're telling me the hardest thing they have to do is stop it at 3 minutes. So we all need more positives in our lives. The second thing I want to do is give every single person in this room a very personal sense of mission that you can make a difference every day. It doesn't matter how much change is going on around you, doesn't matter what your boss is doing, your coworkers are doing. You have choices every single day. No matter what happens to us, we always have a choice in how we respond. You know, people often say to me, how can you smile all the time and be so happy? You must have a perfect life. Well, you know what? I don't have a perfect life. And my guess is neither does anybody in this room. But we always have choices. We had a child who died. My husband died of cancer. I've had a lot of pain in my life. But I choose to be a happy person. Not always easy. But regardless of your circumstances, you all have that same choice. I created for myself this little 3-column chart about 10 or 12 years ago because I'm very visual. And I wanted to see and measure the difference that I could make every day. And what this says is every time we interact with anybody, we have a choice. We can create for that other person a minus, a 0, or a plus. If we discount them and make them feel less important than us or the organization, they're going to leave with a minus. If we just take care of their business, that's really a 0, folks. It's a slot filler. You know, someone who comes in who does just enough to get by. It does not create a relationship. Or we can make what I call a human level connection. And we say to that person, I see you. You exist. You are a human being.
When I was in the airport, at Chicago O'Hare Airport, I walked into the ladies' restroom, and there was a person there who was cleaning. And she was all hunched over, cleaning like this. So I walked up to her, I touched her on the arm, I looked her right in the eyes, and I said to her, thank you so much for keeping this washroom clean. You're really making a difference for all of us who travel." She perked up and she started cleaning like this. And all of a sudden, before I left, she was handing towels out to all the women who were washing their hands. So I left with tears in my eyes. That cost me nothing. But what I told her in that one statement was she made a difference. She was important. She was special. And that's a gift every single person in this room can give to people every single day.
Baxter Labs is a client of mine, and they did a worldwide study where they asked their employees over the world, what can we do to make it better for you? What do you think they expected to get back? Yeah, money and benefits. The number one thing they got back worldwide was they wanted to be respected as whole human beings with a life outside of work. To be respected as whole human beings. So when you find out the passion of the people that you work with or the people who report to you, you're recognizing them as human beings with a life outside of work, and you can tie that to finding more interesting work for them. The third thing I want to do is get your creative juices going. And I'm going to guarantee that you will leave with at least 6 to 8 immediately applicable action ideas. I worked for all of the mayors of the United States. Soon after, this was about three and a half years ago, soon after I had been there, the mayor of North Platte, Nebraska. Anybody from North Platte? Anyway, called me and he said, "Barbara, I have to tell you what I did." He said, "I was running low on my funds for my re-election campaign. So he said, I put a little blurb in the front page of the newspaper, and I said, if you can raise $10,000 for my re-election campaign, I will walk naked down Main Street." Did he get their attention? It took him a day and a half to raise the money. So he took his dog naked, walked down Main Street. He called me just a short time ago, and he said, they're still talking about that in town. So he got a lot of great PR out of it as well.
I don't think anybody even on record has talked in all 50 states and 7 continents. I was trying to see if I had done that. I don't think so. So she's an amazing person. She has clients all over the world. She even wowed the Singapore security police. How's that? And Barbara and I got a chance to work on a book together around Johnny the Bagger, her really signature story. And that book with also a DVD has, 5 million people have been impacted by Johnny the Bagger and the whole concept of really taking care of customers. And I don't know of anybody who cares more about people and her audiences and everybody she works with than Barbara Glanz.
And I want to end with a wonderful thought from my dear friend Og Mandino. This is his rule number 10 for a better way to live. He says this: beginning today, treat everyone you meet, loved one or stranger, friend or foe, as if they were going to be dead at midnight. Extend to each person you meet, no matter how trivial the contact, all the care and the kindness and the understanding and the love that you can muster. And do so with no thought of any reward. Your life will never be the same again.